Welcome! This video is about the proposed development of the Freeway Airport in Prince George's County. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of the idea very much from my own point of view. So what is the plan to develop this airport? Well, this is where it gets confusing because there's been several drafts of this plan, and so I'm going to try to differentiate between those plans for you. The original plan, which this whole idea was sold on, was to build single-family homes on this lot at a relatively low density, about one home every 2 acres. That would look something like this. As you can see, there are relatively few homes and they're on nice large lots. Now this would have a minimal impact on Church Road, which is a single-lane country lane, with no plans to upgrade it to take any more traffic than it is currently carrying. Let's first deal with the pros, and here is a comprehensive list of the pros. I am actually over-exaggerating this. There are actually a few pros to this, and let me go through them. One, you would lose the noise of low-flying aircraft, which nobody particularly enjoys. And it could avoid accidents like this that have happened in the last few years, where planes have gone off the runway and ended up on the Highway 50. There is a third argument that says more development in the area means more income to the county and therefore is a net bonus to the county. Now I'm going to counter that argument later, so let's leave that one on the table for the moment. Now let's deal with the cons. There are a lot of these and I can't get to all of them in the time available, so let's deal with what I think are the most important ones. First of all, there are more draft plans, and so there's an element of bait and switch here, which I don't like and makes me suspicious of the whole process. More development is not good if it's overdevelopment. It's a hidden tax on us all, and I'll explain that in a minute. There are environmental issues like traffic, noise, stress on our utilities, extra water pollution, and loss of green space. And there are more stress on our already overcrowded schools. As I mentioned above, there are other draft plans, and let me try to explain what they are. Here's the picture of our favourite airport. Now, draft 2 increase the density of housing from one house every 2 acres to include townhomes at a density of 6 homes per acre. So that's 12 times more dense than the original plan. That would look something like this. Well, actually it wouldn't, because I couldn't get all the squares on this plot. There's another 100 homes to put in here, and I'll leave that for an exercise to the viewer. Good luck with that. But it also increased the area that could be developed by a factor of 2. So instead of having something like 600 new homes in the area, we would have something like 12 to 1500 new homes in the area, which would be ridiculous. Remember, we've got to get all that traffic onto Church Road. Draft 3 did in fact drop the density of housing to 4 homes per acre, but that's still an awful lot of homes. Either of these plans would have major impacts on Church Road and its environs. I have a simple question for those that are in favour of this particular plan. Where are all the jobs for these people? This is a country area. There are no jobs in this area. So these folks would have to commute to somewhere else, either somewhere else in Prince George's County, into Montgomery County, Annapolis, or DC, or perhaps even Northern Virginia. That would make everybody else's commute that much worse. The DC metro area is already the second worst commute in the country. And so is Prince George's County Council trying to make it number 1? That would be a dubious honour indeed. I have another question to the supporters of this particular idea. Do we need more housing development in Prince George's County? Here's a map of our local area, not even the whole of Prince George's County. And let's take a look at the developments that are currently going on. There's a huge development going on in Oak Creek, with hundreds of houses being put up as we speak. You've only got to take a look at Woodmore Town Centre with its high density townhouses crammed around that shopping centre. There's a big development about to start opposite the Vista Gardens Mall. We just lost Glendale Golf Course to another development, and the same for Patuxent's Greens up in Laurel. Now the thing about all of these is that they're actually near to major transport hubs and metro. Now, if you look at where the Freeway Airport is going to be worked on, That is out in the middle of the country and has none of those facilities available to them. And then they've doubled that to a second property to the west of that. So we're going to have a huge development right in the middle of a country area that has no facilities to accommodate all those people and no jobs to accommodate all those people. This is ridiculous planning. My thesis here is that overdevelopment is not good development. The laws of supply and demand apply to real estate probably more than anything else. By overdeveloping areas, it degrades the value of all the existing housing in that area. Now, a house is most people's largest investment, and by degrading its value, you're making the whole community poorer while a few developers richer. In fact, it's a hidden tax on the poor. Now, every time I drive past Woodmore Town Centre and look at the townhouses that they're putting up there, I think of the song from several decades ago that mocked the overdevelopment south of San Francisco. Little boxes on the hillside, they're all made out of ticky-tacky and they all look just the same. That's what you're doing to Prince George's County, and this is not something I think we want to be known for. Well, let's look at some numbers about this hidden tax on us all. The attitude of the Prince George's County Council seems to be something like, oh look, there's some open space, let's develop it, even though we have lots of vacant buildings and empty building sites around the county. In the DC metro area overall, house prices have increased by about 30% in the last decade. If you correct that for inflation, that's a real increase in value of about 12%. So how does Prince George's County compare with all these other counties and DC? Well, my apologies here, I had to kludge two graphs together to get the full length of the trend. But over the last decade, Prince George's County prices have only increased by 11%. Unfortunately, when you correct that for inflation, that translates to a loss of 7% in our overall value in real money terms. So that's the tax we've been paying, 7%. And I'm, for one, not particularly happy about that. My house is worth a lot less than it was when we first moved in here. Let's talk about bait and switch. Remember, there have been 3 drafts of this proposed legislation. Draft 1 had 40 large townhouses on this particular airport site. And I think very few of us would disagree with that as a proposed plan. That would be very similar sort of density as the neighbouring Waterford development and the developments across the road. Draft 2 made that townhomes, about 600 townhomes in that area, and then also added another large area to the west, which would have increased it by another 800 townhomes if all that area was developed with the same density. Draft 3 did reduce the number of homes per acre to 4, but even so, that's an awful lot of homes in a relatively small country area that cannot handle the traffic. Speaking of traffic, I confidently predict that traffic problems along this road will increase significantly over the next few years if this development goes ahead. This is a narrow country lane getting more and more crowded as we speak. Accidents are becoming more frequent. For example, we've had 2 fatalities on Church Road in the last 3 years, and the local residents are reporting that more and more minor accidents are occurring along this road as well. If we add something like 400 to 1,000 new homes along this road, we are going to have much worse traffic problems because the road is ill-designed for carrying that sort of level of traffic. It seems that new development is more of a burden to a community than an advantage. It makes school overcrowding much worse. Perhaps we should be taking a leaf out of Montgomery County's example and put a moratorium on development in areas where the schools are overcrowded. And I suspect those overcrowding criteria would apply to most, if not all, of Prince George's County. We need road upgrades, but we hear that there is nothing in the budget for the foreseeable future to do that. Until such things happen, then there's no point about talking developments of this type. We need to put in utilities, water and sewage, and that, in being a country area, is going to require a very expensive investment. More county services will be needed with more people in this area. And what about access to mass transit? How are these people going to get to work? What about access to public transport and roads? The developer claims we're close to a freeway and the metro, etc., but that isn't true. The nearest metro stop is at Largo. That's 20 to 30 minutes drive away. Access to Highway 50 is a 15 to 20 minute drive away, even though the development is right next to Highway 50. Access to the Beltway is another 15-minute drive away. And all those times are under optimum traffic conditions, according to Google Maps. And as we've heard, with the inclusion of all these new homes in this area, the conditions of the roads are going to be anything but optimum, particularly during rush hour. As I just said, these two developments are going to be right next to Highway 50. I've showed the location of the developments here with these red circles. Now this is going to be a large noise problem for any houses built in this area, and probably is already a noise problem for the folks in Waterford who are sandwiched between these two areas. The noise barrier on Highway 50 ends just short of the bridge 193. If we're going to do this job properly, they would extend that barrier to past where this airport development is going to occur. And that would be another mile of barrier required. And I would suggest that nothing be done about this development. No, not a single house be built until that sound barrier is in place. The developer is claiming local support for his plan, based on the brochure that he put around that looks like this. You'll see that there are only two options on this plan. One was to increase operations at the airport, i.e. more aircraft noise. And option two was to develop the property with townhomes. Where's option three? The option to put single family homes on there. Given the choice of increasing airport operations or building townhomes, I would have gone with townhomes. However, if I'd been given a third option to have only single family homes, which are very similar in their nature to those of Woodmore, Waterford and the buildings across the road from the airport, I would have gone with that. And they knew this, which is why they omitted that option from their brochure. So this is at least dishonesty by omission, if not just plain straight dishonesty. I have a question again. When will they ever learn? Politicians need to pay more attention to the concerns of their constituents rather than to the dollars from the developers. Just remember, the elections are in November. What can you do? Sign the petition. Here is the link. I'm sorry it's a bit long, but here's the link. And also sign up to speak at the County Council meeting, no matter which way you feel about this, on the 19th of November. Until next time, goodbye.